I hear.
And on that note, I want to welcome everybody to the world. According to Last Minute, Ben Stein, very famous nickname for Ben Stein. And I want to welcome everybody to the Saturday night special of Ben Stein. And I want to thank everybody that's been downloading the episodes. We've had one of our best weeks ever. We are humbled. We thank you. And I want to remind everybody, please keep downloading the podcast, but also to subscribe to our YouTube. You could still subscribe to our YouTube channel, but our Substack channel. Just go to not Substack. God, I'm off.
We're all working too hard.
Rumble, everybody.
Fighting Bolshevism.
Everybody go to rumble.com, subscribe to Ben's channel. Just go to channel and type in Ben Stein and hit subscribe, and also get Ben Stein's email, benstein.substack.com.
We're exhausted fighting Bolshevism, the rising tide of Bolshevism sweeping from Washington across this great country.
You're completely right. But let's welcome in another man that's had an incredible week with his podcast, Gary Collins from thesimplelifenow.com. Gary.
Thank you.
And just we love having Gary on the show. He's in the middle of building a studio, so he will be on with us more once his studio in his bunker somewhere in America.
Like Ben, I do it with these hands. I'm building it with these hands.
You had to bring up those hands. And of course, this show wouldn't be complete without America's humble servant, actor, writer, provocateur, saint sinner, lover, father, grandfather, teacher, mathematician, statistician, economist, former game show host, former Star Search host, and of course,
talk show host.
And of course, most importantly, very humble. And of course, Dr. Benjamin Jeremy Stein. And the reason I bring this up is because I got to tell you how nuts it drives me that Jill Biden is on the road, I guess, campaigning for McAuliffe and stuff. And she's on Twitter at Dr. Jill.
I know, it's incredible. It's incredible. I want to write in with some of my problems. Doctor, no matter what happens, I cannot have a bowel movement. Tell me, please, Dr. Jill, what do I do?
No, but it's and this is the old joke, and I know people have said this countless times, but if you're on a plane or if you're somewhere and you have a heart attack,
yes, you do not want Dr. Jill Biden.
Yeah, you do not want Dr. Jill, and nor if they say, is there a doctor in that? Is there a doctor on board, or is there a doctor anywhere? Will Jill Biden be raising her hand to come and help? Although she's so egotistical, she probably would.
She might.
And on that note, welcome everybody to the world according to Ben Stein. Tonight's title of tonight's episode is Paternity Leave. Anyone.
Very good.
And
wait, would it be in his case maternity leave or paternity leave? There goes the question.
That's exactly right. Yes, Ben, we saw your Terrapin mask last week. It's good to see. But Ben Stein. Okay, let's get this out of the way. I am pro gay marriage. I'm pro gay adoption. I'm pro women adopting. I'm whatever. I mean, there's enough kids out there. I don't even know how they had this kid. I guess it was through surrogate. But
how do people usually have kids?
Sorry?
How do people usually have kids?
Through. Yeah, well, in 2000.
Oh, I know. It's Go Brandon, right?
It's
Go Brandon. Go Brandon.
That's exactly right. And Ben Stein, I go to you, and I have to say this: we are going through one of the worst supply chain shortages. Just everything that's going on wrong with this country right now, and we have a 39-year-old jackass.
That's great. It's great.
Former mayor. And here's the thing, and this is like a case, Ben, of somebody really taking advantage of the system. None of them had the child, okay? I can understand wanting to take a week off to spend the week with your newborn, maybe a week and a half, maybe. Ben Stein, 2 months of paid leave.
Well, wait a minute. I don't think you've gotten the best part.
Please go.
I would bet you dollars to donuts that they have live-in help. I mean, there's just no chance that a person at that level of success does not have live-in help. I mean, if even people at my very modest level of success have live-in help, that somebody like Mr. Buttigieg and his boyfriend or lover or husband or whatever we call him would unquestionably have live-in help. So himself paid for by the taxpayers, and he has live-in help. So this is just insane. I mean, we want to take good care of people. And we love gay people. Anyone who shops at the pavilions in West Hollywood as much as I do loves gay people. But come on. The taxpayers shouldn't be on the hook for everything.
And Gary, do you think he's using this as to get away with it? Because let's be real. I mean, if this was in any other case scenario, everybody would be in America would be like, what the hell is wrong with this situation? Right. Get your 39-year-old ass back to work. And Gary, he's using his homosexuality right now, and I'll be the first one to say that as a way of getting this done.
No, it's a way of getting free money.
Well, that's the thing. But let's look at any cabinet level appointee of Biden. Have any of them done anything?
Anything?
Anything? Any of them? Are any of them competent and have a background in what their position is? Let's start there.
I think Attorney General was his job.
Well, his job is going after parents.
I'm kidding.
But no,
that's what I mean.
Yeah, go ahead, Gary.
But it's insanity. I to take 2 months off during a major crisis. And the thing is, the guy has no background in transportation, logistics, or anything related to getting anything anywhere except for his dumbass home, it appears. But you know what I mean?
He's not just sit there. Not so dumb. He's not so dumb. Free money is free money.
He really has gained the system. And again, we're facing an existential crisis in this country, Ben, by hiring, by race, by creed, by sexuality.
That's all they do. And I'll tell you something interesting, if I may, respectfully. When Marxists take over countries, they say we are not going to determine qualifications for any job by merit or by scores in exams or by education or experience. We determine it by class basis. And therefore, this is exactly what Mr. Biden is doing. He determines qualifications by class basis and by various criteria that have nothing to do with ability to get the job done. It is a pure Marxist approach to naming officials to the government.
And here's the thing, Gary. We all could honestly say if Trump was in there like he should be, this would not be a crisis. I mean, the Army Corps of Engineers could be sent to every port across America, have Army trucks, National Guard trucks, getting all the supplies to the stores across America. I mean, and the one thing he comes out and says, Gary, is we're going to continually have this supply chain crisis.
I know. He said we might have it permanently.
Yeah.
Why? Well, here's my question. Why did we suddenly have it? I mean, we had the pandemic before Biden became president. We've had other terrible diseases before Biden became president. We had World War II before Biden became president. Why do we suddenly have it now? Because we have a government that doesn't know their ass from their elbow.
No, you're completely right of the question of why do we have this issue. And it's everything, Gary, from day one that this idiotic regime has done has caused this to happen.
It's not just idiotic, my dear friend Judah. It's mean-spirited too.
Well, think of it if the shelves are empty now. Just think during Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Oh my God, exactly. Please bring Bob over here.
We haven't even got to Halloween yet.
My God. If there are no costumes for Halloween, what do we do? Oh my God.
No, they've already said that there's going to be a major costume.
No costumes for Halloween. Bob, we just learned on my show that we're not going to have any costumes for Halloween.
And well, you already have your costume, Ben. It's the same thing you wear every day. But this really is a big issue.
Can you get my alcohol out of the car, please?
And I know we're joking about this type of issues, alcohol to rub his spider bites.
No, they turn out to be bat bites.
Bat?
Are you joking?
I don't know what they are.
I hope you're joking. But anyways, but Ben, all kidding aside, this is a serious, severe issue we're having right now. And there
I
is
know.
there is no real end in sight, and they're telling us that. I mean, I don't see how we survive this
Well, I
crisis.
understand. Well, we're surviving fine. I mean, I had a very, very good dinner tonight.
Okay,
I had a
Ben, I beg you, take your, with all due respect, take yourself out of the equation and think about the rest of the country that's struggling, or that, you know, has to pay the enormous gas prices, has to stick $20 in 6 times a week, and all of these different things that are going on.
With all due respect, I am in Washington, D.C., your nation's capital. I've just spent yesterday in the state of Maryland, my home state, and gas is about half the price that it is in Southern California. Why is that? That's because of the Bolsheviks in charge of Sacramento. That's because of that.
But it's still up a dollar from the year.
Right. What on earth are they doing in Washington to cause all these problems that we didn't have as of January 19th? What are they doing? I mean, I would like to know, speaking of supply chains, what is the mechanism by which they manage to screw things up so badly so quickly? What do they do?
Ben, they just pumped a bunch of money into the economy. They
But
gave
we've been doing that for a long time.
Well, hold on a second, Ben.
But-
Something is shaking, or the mouthpiece is getting too close to your shirt. It's
but with that, what they've done too is, you got to remember, people don't even talk about, there's still the $300 child tax credit that's still going on. So if you got a family of 4, you're getting $1,200 for free anyway. You throw in some food stamps, throw in some other benefits, and next thing you know, you're not working. And that's why unemployment's 4.8%, but we have 11 million jobs. Am I missing my math class? Did I miss something?
Well, of course, we're paying people not to work, and we get the predictable result. But I would like to add, now see, Judah's always making fun of me and belittling me, but I have not gotten 1 penny of federal aid of any kind, and my income has been very, very negatively affected by the pandemic, and I haven't gotten 1 penny. So explain that to me, snobs.
well, you applied at the wrong time. You applied after everybody else applied, and there was no more money left in the.
I know. I don't think that's
no.
they purposely did it because I was a friend of yours.
But again, you're raising a great point. So we're talking about so many different events happening at one time. So we're talking about during the pandemic, we've had they laid off a bunch of airline workers or gave them early retirement. They gave a bunch of truck drivers early retirement or laid them off. And all of a sudden we're on the other side of something, and we have nobody to do these jobs. And these are these are serious jobs. You can't just overnight teach somebody how to truck. I was listening to an ad on the radio the other day, and they were offering, it was like $70,000 a year, pension funds, stock buybacks to become a trucker for like Walmart or one of these companies. Just an outstanding amount of money. And
would you open this, please?
Yeah, but
I will tell you, if I may, there's no once you have opened this, as someone said a few days ago, Pandora's box. There's no end to it. Once you have opened a deal whereby we have an economic system different from any economic system that man has ever used before, in the sense that we have an economic system where people are not paid to work, but are paid to not work, the consequences will just keep on going forever.
So I have a question for you regarding this. So obviously the one thing Biden's approval rating.
I need you to unscrew this.
This is just going to be the shittiest sounding show tonight. We apologize.
We do apologize.
But again, going back to the one thing saving Biden right now, saving him, he's at 36% approval rating, is the fact that the markets haven't tanked. Now, you being an economist, how is this possible? How is this?
Why? Well, you're asking a very good question. Why are the markets as high as the stock markets as high as they are? Because there is no alternative investment. The bond market, the bonds yield almost nothing. Real estate has gotten so high that only a fairly small minority of the population can afford to buy real estate. So what else is there to buy besides stocks? But I think people will soon find that they better lay off the stocks a bit. For us to have rallies of the kind we're having with the kind of real world problems we're having is very unusual and a little bit puzzling. And usually, if there's no answer to why the stock market is so high, the stock market will say, you know what, you're right.
And Gary, I'm sure a lot of people are looking at this. I'm sure a lot of people, that are retail store owners or Main Street, and they're going to be looking at this right now going, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense from looking at Wall Street to looking at their own small businesses and their own type.
But then again, there are some businesses that are doing incredibly well. I mean, the auto business, they can't get enough cars, but when they do get cars, they sell the cars very fast. The home construction business is doing very well, although it recently had something of a correction. But the real estate is a huge business. That's doing well. Agriculture is doing incredibly, unbelievably well. So small retail, yes, they're doing badly. But there are many parts of the economy that are doing well. If you dump enough money into the economy, it will have consequences. The real question is, why isn't this generating really severe inflation? Yes, we have some inflation, but not that much. Why is that? That's a mystery of economics.
Well, Ben, it is 23.9% on products, supposedly, that we have inflationary on products. And listen,
I would love to see. You send me a link of that.
What do you think? I made up the number 23.9% out of my.
Yes,
I took it out of my butt, which will soon not have toilet paper because that's one of the shortages, as well as carbon.
Wait a minute. Is that true?
Yes, it is true.
I want to know why that. Why is that when times are rough, that, so to speak, that people stock up on toilet paper?
It's not just Ben. It's not just a stocking up. Remember, we've gone through COVID where people were buying a ton. If one ingredient or one part of the toilet paper backlog is missing, there goes our toilet paper.
It's the whole chain, because the thing about paper towels and toilet paper is it's bulky. So it takes a heck of a lot more space to ship. So that's where that one gets hit right away, because it's a big product, not high profit, and you have to manufacture it. You don't have enough people. Now you have a wood shortage, which has been going on for a while. Well, the wood industry is the paper industry. So it's one of those where it's just kind of, I've already looked. I checked the grocery store today, and good luck wiping your ass. It's not going to happen during Thanksgiving. So you might want to push the plate away.
Okay. On that note,
that's quite funny. That's really funny. That's really funny.
And on that note, Ben, I beg of you to please lift off that thing off your sweater, because
I don't even know what you're referring to. I mean, this? I don't even know what this is.
That's what
I do this now.
That's what picks up, Ben, please.
Yes.
That's what picks up the voice, is that little thing, not that little thing in the middle that you keep on.
This?
Yes, that, exactly. Just hold it. That's the theme of tonight's show. Just hold it. And on that note, if you just tuned in, you are listening to The World According to That Man, Benjamin Jeremy Stein.
So this little thing here, which looks just like an absolutely nondescript piece of plastic, is a microphone.
No, it's on your right, I believe, Ben.
No, it's this thing right in the middle.
Yeah, you almost touched it. Keep going. No, towards your head. There you go.
It's right there, and it keeps on scraping against.
I can't.
There you did it.
We totally lost Ben Stein and his sound. And on that note, I want to welcome everybody that's listening to The World According to our very choppy evening of The World According to Ben Stein. I want to remind everybody to subscribe to our email, benstein.substack.com. Also, please keep downloading the episodes, but also please go to our Rumble channel and subscribe to our channel, Ben Stein. And just go there, subscribe. And also you could find Gary Collins, simplelifenow.com founder. And we will have Ben back in a moment. But Gary, you brought up something to me before the show, how little cabinet members and these people actually really, if people knew how little they actually showed up for their jobs.
Well, that was the thing that amazed me in the government, especially when you get the worker bees, the low levels, knuckleheads like I was. we had to show up for work. I mean, you couldn't hide. They were wondering where you were at all times. But I had management. Literally, there was one boss near the end. We wouldn't see her ass for weeks. No one knew what she did. No one knew where she was, and that was typical. I mean, and the higher up you get, the less actual, I wouldn't say responsibility, but you just disappear. They literally disappear. It's we call them empty suits because there's nothing there, and actually you prefer them not to work if at all possible. You're all, you know what, why don't you just stay away? We'll do better without you around, because once you come here, you completely screw everything up.
But the question is, right now, we actually, obviously not with the people that are in this administration, but we need some sort of intervention that could happen, because
there's no one there. I don't know if you've looked at this staff. There's no one competent anywhere near that White House.
And we lost Gary. There we have Ben Stein is back, and but Gary, we can't hear you, Ben. Now we totally can't hear you.
I can't hear.
Just I'll tell you what, Ben, unplug the bottom thing, and then we'll just have your regular audio. Just unplug it. Unplug the little white thing. No, from the bottom of the iPad. Just unplug it. Let's just go. Let's just. That's much better. There we go. And Ben, as you missed it, I was asking Gary, and we were talking before, and it to most people's surprise, how few people show. How we're learning now how these cabinet positions and all of these different things, people are not regularly are not showing up to work.
But I'm afraid people are not regularly showing up to work in a great many places. That's the problem. I hope the people in the Navy's nuclear submarines are showing up to work. I hope the people in the Navy's aircraft carriers are showing up to work. I mean, I guess now that we've entered this new world where we pay people not to show up to work, everything's going to be different. We're just going down endless, bottomless rabbit hole.
But my other question is, why aren't they getting the Army Corps of Engineers and the National Guard on this? It seems like such a, I mean,
Well, explain to me, Judah, what they would do. Does some nice person who's in the National Guard know where to take the shipment?
Yeah, well, I would imagine with the use of Waze and what stores to go to, yes, I would imagine they could unload these massive containers, load their trucks, and go to small retailers, because the big retailers have their own shipping routes, and they're renting ships and all of this stuff. So they're not going to be the ones that are getting hurt as much. There's a lot of stores, Ben, that have literally bare shelves.
This sounds like racism. This is racism, right? You're blaming. What's his name? The Bujin or whatever his name is. What's his name? Buttigieg. You're blaming him because he's black, right?
Yes, that's exactly right. But in all seriousness, Ben, there's got to be a solution that take politics out of the equation. People are suffering and people are getting hurt. All kidding aside, we're having we're talking about small retailers that aren't going to be able to stock their shelves or do anything like that. And it's real serious, Ben.
I agree. Look, do you think I'm a fan? Do I ever give you any reason to think that I'm a fan of Biden? It's quite funny. No, I don't know what they do, but I tell you what, we have in this country a man named Warren Buffett. He's the smartest guy ever. He's very much alive, well, and full of ideas. Why doesn't President Biden call him up and say, please tell me what the hell to do? I'm not kidding. Why not? I mean, why ask a stupid person? Why not ask a smart person?
No, listen, you're completely right. And Gary, if he were smart, he'd have Trump at the docks. Okay,
right.
Exactly.
Now that would show statesman-like behavior. Trump knows how to get things done. Judah, you and I know the story of Woolman Ice Skating Rink. It's an amazingly interesting story. New York wanted to build an ice skating rink. at the north end of Central Park for years and years and years. They couldn't get it built. Trump said, "I'll build it for you in a few weeks," and he did. And why don't they ask Trump? That would show a behavior that put the country first and his own miserable, mean-spirited selfishness last on the part of Joe Biden.
Yeah, but Ben, don't you realize that this inflation problem is only affecting you anyway? That's their answer. This is a rich people's problem.
I'm not rich. It's Judah who's rich. He has
Well,
a rich,
no, that's what their excuse was, though, that this inflation's just a rich people's problem, and everyone's like, "What? How is the price of gas and the price of food a rich person's problem?"
no. I want seriously, Judah. I think you have actually, more or less inadvertently, maybe not very cleverly, given an incredibly important talking point to this country. Why don't we have Mr. Trump step into the breach? I mean, this is a guy who gets things done, and he is a patriot. He would not hesitate to get it done, even though the administration is a Democrat administration. He loves America. He would get it done. And I think, if I may say so, it would redound to Mr. Biden's credit for all of history.
Logistically speaking, could he just actually step in there and do this without approval? I mean, can he just?
Well, what may I respectfully say? Have you noticed the Biden administration thinking that they have to get Congress's permission to do anything? They don't. Executive order. So let's have an executive order making Mr. Trump a czar of some man. And anyone who wants to fight against it will get arrested by the FBI, put in solitary confinement along with January 6th terrorists, and Mr. Trump will get the goddamn thing done, and we'll be back in business. Because after all, America's business is business. Calvin Coolidge said that, and he was right. And Mr. Trump knows that. Mr. Biden and his Bolshevik friends don't know it, but Mr. Trump could get it done.
And Gary, I mean, very well said. But Gary, we know he's never going to do it. But my question was, could Donald Trump just show up at the docks and be like, an
incredibly brilliant idea.
He very well could. Yeah, why not?
Show up at the docks like Marlon Brando at the end of On the Waterfront, and just tell people to shape up, form up, and start doing their jobs. I think he would get it done. And I think it would be a defining moment for the United States of America, and would make Trump into, everyone would see him for the hero he is.
Okay, so let's go back.
Judah, I'm not kidding. This is a seriously brilliant idea.
Okay, so let's talk logistically how it could be done. You have to figure how many U-Haul trucks are in America. Probably at least 3 million, at least 10, probably 10 million U-Haul trucks in America. And I would switch Uber to instead of picking up people, because picking up cargo shipments. I'm not kidding around. I mean, there's a
great idea. Judah, you have come up with a great idea. And why can't Mr. Trump just, as you say, go down the dock? I think, I'm not an expert in Miami, but I think Miami is a huge port too, a huge port. It's not very far from where he lives. Why can't he just get into one of his cars, go down there, get on the dock, and say, "Men, of course, and women, of course, and LGBTQ, get to work. You're Americans. When America needs you, get to work. We'll figure out the payment later. Get to work."
Gary, and I think this would actually, you talk about ways of getting people back to work. This would actually really get people back to work.
It's an incredibly great idea.
I mean, because
you have really hit the jackpot here.
Thank you very much. Because Uber drivers and all other, during the pandemic, Uber drivers and the Dash people that were doing like Uber Eats were doing really well, Gary. And now they're not doing so well as much because people are able to go out. So what a great additional source of income this would be.
And let's not worry about them. Let's worry about the fact that this country needs, above all, right now, leadership. Donald Trump is, above all, a leader. Let's go down. Let's just beg him right now over the internet. Mr. Trump, you're among friends here on this show. We'd like you to go down to the Port of Miami and urge people to form up, shape up, and start working. And I bet people will. Not everyone, but people will.
Well, and that's a big thing is what most people in America don't realize, that still things are moved around the country primarily by rail and truck, especially by truck. And having a shortage of truck drivers slows the entire process down.
Absolutely.
That's the biggest problem.
I think truck drivers like and respect Mr. Trump, and I think that let's add the seasoning to the stew and have Mr. Buffett go there. Mr. Buffett is the owner of the second largest railroad in America, Burlington Northern Santa Fe. Let's have him go to the railroad terminals. And everyone respects Warren Buffett. There's no one who doesn't respect Warren Buffett. Let's have him be talking too. Let's call on some leaders. Biden's got his thumb up his ass. He doesn't know what he's doing. Let's get him. And Mr. Buttigieg is changing diapers. God bless him. Let's get leaders in there.
No,
I don't think that's going to happen.
We are absolutely all on.
Why assume it?
No. This is where citizen government has to rise up.
True. I agree.
This is where American citizens could actually, they don't need the approval of the United States government. This is literally could be the new gold rush of this century. Is a bunch of people getting together. And this is the major issue here is the unions, right? Because all union members, while they used to vote Democrats, leadership still votes Democrat, but the people in the union vote Republican. And people in these unions really have to start questioning and getting rid of their union leadership because they are serving them absolutely zero good.
But I think I am myself a member of 3 unions. And I love being a union man, and I will always be a union man till the day I die. And I respectfully tell you that union men and women are above all Americans and patriots. They will go back to work. If they think the country really needs them, they will go back to work, and they will let the chips fall where they may in terms of pay later. They are above all. Union men and women are above all patriots.
It was funny is the Hollywood sadly is about to strike. So
wait, which part of Hollywood is that, sir?
Filming, recording, everything. They're getting very close to going on strike. So
that'll really hurt.
Yeah, you'll show us American citizens.
Yeah, exactly.
Please, Hollywood, don't go on strike.
Now I can't watch Fast and Furious 138. Jeez, it's terrible.
And on that note, if you just tuned in, you are listening.
I'm a member of the Guild, the Writers Guild, the Screen Actors Guild, and after it, I haven't got any notice about strike. So I think that you must be talking about IATSE. And I think IATSE are the real guts of the business.
Yes, it is IATSE. It is IATSE.
Guts of the business, lighting people, sound people, prop people, scenery people. They're patriots. They will go back to work if they are being asked to do it. And there are plenty of IATSE people who are veterans, who have medals and decorations. They'll say, we served in time of war with bullets flying around us. Come on, brothers and sisters, you serve too.
No, you see, Gary, he raises a great point. I don't necessarily agree with him about certain unions. I think certain unions have ruined our country, especially the teachers union. I think
that's a whole different.
Oh, that's a different union. But I think Gary, this is really the time for the citizen soldier to show up. This is the time for, and I'm really surprised by this, actually. You know a ton of former SEALs, you know a ton of former these people that make a boatload of money in other countries after wars, Gary. I'm surprised they're not trying to capitalize on the situation that's going on right now.
Well, what would they do?
Yeah, again, it's a little difficult. I mean, the problem is, they've got us by the balls when you think about it. These are industries that are not easily teachable. Los Alamos Labs just lost a bunch of scientists due to the COVID mandates, the vaccine mandates. You can't replace someone like that by sending them to, junior college.
That is
You know what I
incredible.
mean? They're these mandates are forcing all the skilled labor out, and there's no one to replace them. And people don't think, oh, a truck driver's skilled. You just can't jump in a big rig and start
No.
driving it around.
No, no, but the people who are the big rig drivers, they are patriots, and if they are
Ben, there aren't enough of them unless they come.
beginning, and if any is the beginning, and if some join in, the others will join in too.
Well, look who they're getting though. They're getting pilots, nurses, truck drivers, dock workers, because a lot of those are big union jobs. They're getting everyone. They're getting all the labor that we need to keep this country running. It's shocking to me. They're literally gutting exactly what they need to gut to run this country straight into the ground and cause all these shortages.
And that is why, if I may repeat myself very respectfully, Mr. Friedman has such a great idea. Who is the leader whom the people who are the guts of America would respect? Donald Trump. Let's have him get out there and start urging people to go back to work and to work.
So you see,
you know what, he's an incredibly strong guy himself. Let's have him put on a coveralls and start unloading trucks himself.
This, this actually could become Trump's greatest shining, one of his greatest shining, of his many great shining moments, is by orchestrating something like this. I know it's difficult. It's very intricate. It is not going to be easy, but I'd rather somebody try something than hear that we're going to have supply chain issues for years to come. We're going to have inflation for years. I mean, this is the answer for everything with this regime is saying. I got to ask you, I mean, in all honesty, we all know, we all have our opinions on the elections on this panel. If you think most Americans knew the shit pile we were going to be getting into, the storm that we were going to get ourselves into. I mean, literally, we know the media has destroyed our country, Ben, but they have really.
Well, if anyone knew what incredible incompetence the Biden people would be, and what a smack in the face of America they would be, of course they wouldn't vote for Biden unless they were actual dedicated Bolsheviks, and there are plenty of them in the Democrat Party. But again, can we go back to what could be one of the turning points in American history? A Republican, strong leader goes to the docks and starts preaching America first.
And he could do job rallies. Trump could go out and just start doing job rallies. Motivate people to go to get back to work.
Strong, bulky guy. He can start taking packages off of pallets and putting them in trucks. Why not?
Yeah, put the hard hat on. He would have no problem doing that. He doesn't need to. He doesn't need to lift the boxes himself, but he put the hard hat on, and like you said, with the Wallman skating rink, get the job done. Not just Wallman skating ring. That that hotel that was in the crapper. The Commodore that was that nobody thought could be redone.
I remember the Commodore very well.
And again, let's not forget an economy that was striving, unemployment the unemployment rate in every single community in this country was at an all-time low. Let's not forget these achievements. They're extremely important.
And that guy who led us could lead us now.
And on that note,
what's the stop? Seriously, if he drives down to the dock in the port of Miami,
Miami doesn't have an issue. Somebody informed me. Miami doesn't have an issue.
There's a big dock. There's a big.
DeSantis is telling people to come there because they actually have
port in South Carolina. My son lives in South Carolina. He and Mr. Trump can go to that port and get to work.
And on that note, if you just tuned in, you are listening to The World According to That Man, Benjamin Jeremy Stein. We are trying to come up with solutions and to the logistical nightmares this regime is orchestrating on our country. I want to remind everybody, you could find us at benstein.substack.com. Also, please keep downloading the podcast. Sorry, it's been a little choppy tonight. You got to stay with it. But
my main technical guy is not feeling very well. He had to go home, and so I have just a backup team.
And it's all good. Choppiness happens. That's the slogan. But we're joined tonight by the Gary Collins from thesimplelifenow.com, founder, podcaster extraordinaire, and somebody that could, if you go to his website, could teach you to live your authentic self and your own authentic life. And I think in today's day and age, but I want to ask you this question, Ben, because I'm at the, and we've brought this up many times, but I'm at the point of thinking there's no doubt in my mind in a sense, because you can't screw this stuff up this badly that it's being done by somebody on purpose.
Well, I think, we've discussed this a number of times, Judah. As you know, I am a lawyer. And of course, I'm a doctor too, but I really am a lawyer. And we in law hold that if a person or entity or group do something so negligently and carelessly and stupidly that the results are inevitable and could be foreseeably inevitable, that person or entity is held to intend them. So I think either they're intending it or they're so incompetent that they might as well have intended it. I mean, for them to have approved, encouraged the firing of so many vital people in this country, it has to do with a level of stupidity that is, I think, close to intent.
What are your thoughts on that, Gary?
It's hard to argue against that point, right? I mean, how many incompetent people does it take to screw in a light bulb at this point? I mean, every part of our economy, of our national defense is a disaster. I mean, we're getting ready to get another surge across the border. There's a whole nother.
I just heard us on TV today. It could be wrong. It's on TV, so it could be wrong. That all told, in the last 12 months,
2 million.
I heard 1 million illegal aliens have come into America. And the government is doing nothing about it whatsoever. These are people with COVID, with criminal records, rapists, sodomists. What on earth are we doing? Nothing.
And again, to Ben's point, Gary, shockingly, the court has forced this regime to reinstate Trump's Mexico. That's how good of a plan that he had, that these jackasses got away with it, and the courts are saying, no, you got to go back to this, because and we know how fickle these people in the courts are, Gary.
Well, yeah, I mean, the problem is so overwhelmingly obvious. They tried to hide it the best they could, which was ignore it and just don't say anything.
They're geniuses at doing that.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's a very easy problem to solve. You say, sorry, there's a process, get in line. Instead, they're letting everyone else in on NTAs and NTRs, which are completely worthless if you never track them and they never appear or report. What's the point? And then not only that, but the problem is they're stuffing down these vaccine mandates and booster mandates now to everyone, and not one illegal alien ever gets checked or vaccinated.
Yeah.
It's asinine. The fact that the
not that they don't
just
get vaccinated, Gary, they don't have to be.
No, they don't have to be. They get all free benefits, get all their free shit, and they don't have to do anything.
And once they're caught and then released, they don't have to show up in court. There's no requirement that they come back and show up in court. That's incredible. I mean, if I get a speeding ticket in Beverly Hills, I have to show up in court. These guys are crossing the border illegally, committing a felony, and they don't have to show up in court.
Well, not only that, but the problem is that these people, they're not sending us their best and brightest. I don't know if you look at these lines of people. Most of them are obese. They don't speak any English. Well, I mean, it's like they're not starving to death. So what the hell's the problem? I mean, it seems like they're eating just fine from where they're coming from. So why are they coming here?
Well, now we get to the essence of what's going on in the world and in this country. Why is everyone in the world wanting to come to America? Aren't we a racist, fascist dictatorship? Aren't we run by the billionaire Republicans to loot the blood of the hardworking citizens? If so, why does everyone in the world want to come here? I mean, Did you see many Jews wanting to emigrate to Nazi Germany? Did you see many Chinese from San Fernando Valley and LA wanting to go to China? No, I don't think so. This is the greatest country in the world, even with Biden as president. Let's start with a realization of that and realize that we just, by mistake, cast out a very good leader, ask him to come back and start straightening things out. And if the government moves to arrest him for helping to fix the supply chain problem, then the government is going to look like assholes.
So let's get back to this, because we all agree that the media is the fourth branch of government. So the media, the Democrats always believe that the media is going to cover for them, that they always have, and they always do. The problem right now is there are so many problems, the media can't figure out what to cover this regime for. So they can't figure out, do we cover him for the border? Do we cover him for him losing more people to COVID than Donald Trump? Do we cover him for obviously the supply chain, everything that's going on? And even Twitter can't handle the most popular hashtag the other day, I believe, one of them at least, was Biden bear shelves. And Ben,
go Brandon.
That's Saturdays in college football. That's that I'm sure that's happened somewhere across America today of let's go Brandon chats. But again, Ben, so the question is the media not covering him on purpose, or not covering for him on purpose, or is there just too much to cover?
Oh no, they look, these guys in the media, some of them are really stupid, but some are really, really clever and smart. They know what they're doing. They know that the country has taken a very sharp dip since Mr. Biden became president. They know that they could hammer him and possibly get him to pull himself together. They don't. Why? Because they like it quiet in the kitchen over there. I'm working here.
That's what they could be screaming at the Gary at the Biden administration. Quiet over here. We're working in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Quiet in the kitchen. But Gary, I mean,
life is like, I have to put up with this all the time.
But Gary, going back to the point, so the media is obviously, they can't cover up all these different events. They just there's no way with that.
But of course they can.
No, Ben, it's nearly Ben.
It doesn't take any time to ignore something.
No, but Ben, these days the cat's out. There's too much cat out of the bag. Our visuals, Gary, have seen and seen too much. You can't, there's only so much protecting of algorithms you could possibly do. And they do their best, Gary, but they can't cover up every single thing.
I don't know. They do a pretty good job. I mean,
he's got a 36% approval rating, so they're not.
Well, it should be 0, but I mean, so he's 36% ahead of the game at this point. I mean, just think if they weren't carrying water for him, what his approval rating would be. It'd probably be like 15%. I mean, there's people in this country that literally think things are great. Biden's doing a bang up job. There are people who literally think that.
No, and Ben, I don't know if you've ever watched any of these press conferences, but Fox News actually does have the best White House correspondent I've seen in my lifetime, which is Peter Doocy. And
he's damn good.
Yeah, and he's able to do the aw shucks and ask tough questions at the same time. And him being really one of the only, I mean, how do you accept an answer? How does the media, I mean, how does anybody that has any intellectual curiosity, when Jen Psaki says these are rich people's problems, or whatever it is that's spewing out of her mouth, how do any of them, and I know the answer, and I know it's naivety on my part, but is there any one of them that's just going to say, what the hell are you talking about?
None so blind as those who will not see.
So the answer is none of them.
No, I don't think so. I mean, if you knew these people, you would know they will cover what they want to cover, and they won't cover what they don't want to cover. That's all. Simple.
But on that note, doesn't winning a Pulitzer, doesn't winning awards, I guess it doesn't mean anything to them as long as they have it doesn't mean anything to them. I guess that's the answer. Nothing matters to these people.
Well, they're rich, they're famous, they live in, I guess, fairly nice houses. What do they need? What do they need truth or honesty or integrity for? What you get a bill from American Express or MasterCard, you can't write them a letter saying you're a great guy to pay it. You can with the money you get from being part of the Biden Democrat new left team, old left team, you can pay your bills.
And the other question is, where the hell is the vice president? Not that
I've forgotten who the vice president is.
It's Pete Buttigieg. It might as well be at this point. I mean, literally, nobody is showing up for work. Everybody has taken paternity leave in this regime. And Gary brought up a point to me on the phone today about we do tend to give ambassadorships. All presidents are guilty of this, to their friends and to rich people, or to their rich friends, I should say. But usually it's to countries that have zero significance. Like here's your
Switzerland.
Yeah, here's your ambassadorship to Switzerland. But with all the foreign issues we're having, it's really showing up foreign-wise, Ben, with these ambassadors. It's
Well, why should we be surprised that a guy who started his national political career with a completely plagiarized speech, not by somebody obscure, but by the head of the Labour Party in Great Britain, should be an incompetent? Why should we be surprised the person who barely graduated from one of the most modestly rated law schools in America would not know much about law? Why should we be surprised the person who's in Congress for many decades is not responsible for one single important bill? Why should we be surprised this person is not particularly competent? Why should we be surprised that a vice president who actually lied about her race is not doing much? I mean, made up a story that basic. Why should we be surprised that she is not doing anything much?
What do you say to
Well,
that, Gary?
no, she is doing these very high as a kite videos, orchestrated videos about looking at the moon, the craters on the moon. That was one of the most bizarre, strangest things I've ever seen in my life.
A great drug movie.
No, but what's great about that is we know she hired image consultants because she has no image. It makes you. She can't even hire the right image consultants. What consultant would say to the vice president, it's a great idea as we're going through all these crises. You speak to 5 hired paid kid actors, and you talk about your love of the moon. No, seriously, I'm being serious. Like what firm?
It's great.
But again, this goes to their idea that they could sell anything to the American people with the help of the media, Ben. Because who in their right? What consultant would have said this is a great idea? This is
But what do you think consultants are like? You think the consultants are geniuses? I mean, what do you think they're like? Well, answer your question. When it was the last time you met someone in political life as a consultant or doing anything, it was a genius. I mean, it's been a long time since we had geniuses in political life.
No,
well, the rumor is it was Hunter Biden.
Yeah.
But going back to it, I love that she's trying to reshape this image. And who in their right mind would have thought this was the way to? I mean, but again, none of this regime is in their right mind. So I'm going to stop questioning why they do this.
Could you imagine sitting in a dinner table with these buffoons and actually having to hear a conversation with them? I bet your mind would literally explode on the spot. Could you imagine what comes out of their mouths during a dinner party?
I can't. I'd like to see what they're smoking during a dinner party. Mrs. Harris and Mr. Biden are both, to me, remind me very, very much of the people who lived on the floor below me and my wifey when I was a second-year student at Yale Law School, and they were just high on glue all the time. And I was thinking to myself, gosh, now who do they remind me of?
Somebody said somebody in the rant said it's like dinner with schmucks, and which was actually a
Good
fairly
movie.
funny movie.
Okay.
But they also brought up that because people are going to buy it, but people aren't buying Kamala Harris. They're not. Anything these people try to sell, nobody is buying right now. There's nothing you could do to reshape the image of this administration. I can't think of one thing, Ben, that would reshape the image of this regime. I can't. I mean, if
I think Judah Meyer Friedman has just come up with something, which is that Mr. Biden, I beg your pardon, would get on the phone and call up Donald Trump and say, Mr. Trump, sir, Mr. President, meet me at the dock in Charleston or New York or Baltimore or Philadelphia or Newark or Wilmington, and let's get these guys to get back to work. And Mr. Trump, if you want to go first, I'll catch up with you. That I think would reshape his image in a big way.
We know that's not going to happen. The only way Donald Trump.
No one thought Nixon would go to China. No one thought that Nixon would take the dollar off the gold standard. Things happen that are not readily foreseeable.
Okay, $2 in my left nut that it's not happening. And if you could, it would have an easier time playing pickup.
Very unlikely.
Yeah.
But Mr. Biden, perhaps there's more to him than we think. And I was just talking last night with my dear friend Bob Noah about Mr. Carville, the Raging Cajun, I think they used to call him, something like that. And he seemed like just a tough, loudmouth dope. I met him a couple of times. He was actually extremely smart, very good natured, a real patriot. And maybe there's more to some of these people in the Biden administration than we've been thinking.
They've been there for 50 years. There's nothing more there is nothing more to them. As you brought up,
Harris has not been there for 50 years.
She's been in public office for at least 25 years, and we know the damage that a lot of the damage that she's done, whether it being the Attorney General of California, the District Attorney of California. We know who she is. Remember, she was the first person that dropped out of the race with 1% popularity. So we are left up to our own devices to get this country back on its feet.
Well, let's plead with Mr. Trump. Please, Mr. Trump, please.
Well, Ben, you have a hotline to him. You could get in touch with Donald Trump.
Not a hotline. He called me up and yelled at me for something I wrote about him in Barron's many years ago. I don't have any idea what his number is, but I mean, I'm sure someone in his orbit might have seen you talking about this and me. And of course, our friends in the forest, and we'll know how to tell him, we need you, Mr. Trump. Let's get on. Let's get back to work.
And by the way, you missed my movie reference when I said $2 in my left nut.
I did not miss it at all.
What movie? Name the movie.
John Candy and PTA.
Yes, John Candy. Because I was about to say you'd have an easier time picking up pickup sticks with your butt cheeks than getting this, which is one of our favorite movies of all time, Gary. Which Ben did have a little part in it, where he played.
Hardest part you've ever seen in your life.
But you know what? It's still a part in a movie. It was a fantastic, it was one of our favorite movies. But Gary, let me ask you a question, since just to get off topic right now. If you told somebody to go to a comedy, what would that comedy be?
What do you mean, comedy as in a movie?
A movie.
Oh God, I don't know what I would tell them to watch. I mean, there's so many good ones. I mean, would I go to the classics? Would I go to
anything? Anything that would sum up Gary Collins?
And for me, Animal House for sure. That's just the way I roll. No, a comedy that would, gosh, what is my favorite comedy? Idiocracy.
I'll tell you what you're thinking. Good. I know Ben has one. So what's your favorite comedy, Ben?
Well, of course, first Ferris, of course, without question, best comedy ever made. And second, an incredibly great comedy Tropic Thunder, an actual
Oh
work,
God, that's a good one. That
an
is a good
actual
one.
work of genius.
Okay, so here's my thing. My only issue with Ferris, I don't think it's a comedy. It's a dramedy.
Yeah.
That it's a drama where you laugh.
How about Blazing Saddles?
Ben's
I would
probably
say, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles was far more of a drama than
no, for 100%. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles was 100% a drama.
really,
That.
really incredibly sad.
But I mean, I think the best form of drama does have, has comedy in it. If you
Yeah.
could laugh at yourself, and if you could laugh at, life in general. But the problem right now is we can't laugh at life in general.
Well, it's better to laugh than to cry. But seriously, Judah, you have done a work of great genius and patriotism tonight. Please, somebody down there in Mr. Trump's orbit, please whisper this suggestion in his ear. Mr. Trump, you can do it. You can go down to the docks, get them to shape up, form up, and start saving America.
And on that note, we have run out of time, but I want to apologize again for the choppy opening. It does happen every once in a while.
All my fault.
It's not your fault. You're in a different state with zero Wi-Fi. You don't have Wi-Fi there. You're using the cellular service of the amazing technology of your Apple iPad. So, I mean, we do the best we can with what we have. It's not like we normally have our full configurations going, and sometimes it's going to sound a little choppy. And I want to remind everybody, please get our email, subscribe to our email, benstein.substack.com. Also, please keep downloading the episodes like you have been, and continue to do so. Give us those 5-star reviews, even on shows like tonight, where we try to trudge through the technical difficulties that are often plagued these days with Zoom and internets on Saturday nights. And remember, Rumble, just hit the channel button and click Ben Stein and subscribe. And also, you can find Ben, spectator.org, and if you have a few extra shekel to throw their way, that would be much obliged by the American Spectator. Go to Gary Collins, simplelifenow.com founder, teaching people how to live off their own spiritual grid. And you could get his podcast weekly. I encourage everybody to download that podcast. It's absolutely amazing. It's simply amazing. Gary Collins, thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for the input before the show, and thank you for the input during the show. And of course, Ben Stein, you'll be flying back to another state tomorrow. Please take us out.
Good night, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. Good night, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. I hate to leave you, but I really must say, oh, good night, sweetheart. Good night. Well, anyway, that's the song we used to hear a lot in the first summer that wifey and I were dating, and happens to have been 1966, and she's still the most beautiful and finest and most brilliant and kindest and most forgiving and wonderful human being on this planet.
Very well said, and I happen to agree with you. And God bless everybody. We will see you Tuesday night.
Very good. Thank you.